What happens when independent voices start to agitate the powers that be?
Now, are the bullet fragments missing? That's still the question.
What happens when the little guy gets sued by the big guy?
It's a lawsuit. Like, they just filed a milagro. They trying to silence her, but they're also targeting her because they think she don't got no bread.
And that case makes its way into the court of public opinion.
I don't know. I just feel like, girl, I don't know if I feel like Megan Thee Stallion's case is really that strong, because it feels like they're upset that Milagro don't believe that Megan Thee Stallion got shot.
When does online speech become actionable defamation in today's social media landscape?
Fragment foot bitch.
But then
can't play those games.
Yeah.
No, we can't play the I'm not a journalist game.
When it's convenient, yeah.
Exactly, especially when you're media.
Megan Pete, a bona fide pop culture juggernaut.
The Paris Olympics. What's up, honey? This is your girl, Megan Thee Stallion, aka the Hot Girl Coach, reporting live with the future president of the United States.
Backed by the richest and most powerful people and law firms in the world, recently decided to take aim against one of those independent voices.
The whole intimidation of independent media influencers, I'm not standing for that.
Y'all think y'all won, but you lost. And this ain't make no sense to know. Body.
Please do not send any hate or honestly comments of any kind to anyone mentioned in this video on behalf of me or yourself. The purpose of this video is to give my commentary and opinion on matters of public concern. Thank you. Order. Hello, hi, hello. We need to talk about this Megan Thee Stallion Pete lawsuit. You might have seen in the media recently, you might have not have seen in the media recently, but Megan Thee Stallion Pete, she's the one that was dancing in the Party City SpongeBob suit. Her. Shout out to her. She likes suing, so, it's all love, girl. Nobody don't go over there. Please, nobody go over there, say anything mean. Nobody, say any mean comments, send any hate, anything on the behalf of me for sure. Because if y'all do that and she sues you, I'm testifying against you, and I'm not joking. Megan Thee Stallion, she sued this, they're characterizing Milagro as a blogger. So I'll say blogger, but I just want to make it clear up front. A big part of this argument has to do with who's media, who's a blogger, what are people who are doing like what I'm doing right now as a YouTuber, a streamer, a blogger, a vlogger. I think blogger is the least accurate, because blogger means you got a blog. That's right. That's print journalism. That's different. Print blog, print opinionism, whatever. So I'll call her a blogger. That's what they're calling her. But I think that's very inaccurate, because we're talking about vloggers at the very least. But anyway, Megan Thee Stallion officially in court papers sued Milagro for 3 different things. One was defamation. One was intentional infliction of emotional distress, which is a separate tort. You can sue, private citizens can sue. And finally, the third thing was promoting an AI altered depiction. What am I allowed to say over here? Corn? The typography. Deep fake is kind of a colloquial word for it. So it's like a fake video purporting or trying to be passed off as if it's a Megan Thee Stallion. But again, it was like AI, it was like digitally altered. And there's a new law in Florida, promotion of a digitally altered depiction of a person in an SUL act, willful and malicious or whatever. That's a civil tort and you can sue for it. And so Megan Thee Stallion did. So there's a lot of media, again, traditional media out here reporting that Megan Thee Stallion sued for harassment, cyber harassment, all this stuff that she didn't actually sue for, from what I could tell. Like I said, the 3 things the jury decided on were defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and the promoting the deep fake. That's the only 3 things the jury decided on. And then within the defamation category, some interesting things happened. So the jury did end up having to decide another issue. It kind of seemed like a 4th issue having to do with, is Milagro media for the purposes of a statute? Because the case is now over, the jury has rendered their verdicts. Let's go through one by one those 3 different things. And I'll tell y'all, I followed this case pretty much every day. I made videos on it most days, and I followed all of the reporting that I knew of coming out of there. This is just my opinions. This is just my impressions. This is just my understanding. I was not in court for any of this, and there were some people who were. So I encourage you to go and watch their reporting, all of it, all of their different reporting, and come to your own conclusions. But this is my understanding, so we'll go through that in turn. First thing was defamation. And just to recap, defamation is when a person, a defendant, delivers a false statement of fact, as if it is a fact, to a third party. You could say it, you could post it, publish it, and that statement of fact is harmful to the reputation or the well-being in some way of the person you uttered the statement about. Okay, so has to be a statement of fact. That's why I always say facts ain't defamation. Because if it's a true fact, it can't be defamatory. It has to be false. False fact, something false to a third party, it has to cause harm. Now, there's a few little, I don't know, you want to call them wrenches that get thrown into this. It's not so straightforward in the Megan Thee Stallion case because she is a public figure. A lot of people know who Megan Thee Stallion is. So in a case where somebody's providing their opinion or statements or whatever about somebody who is a public figure, especially like a politician, someone who's thrust themselves into the public light, there's something else that the plaintiff, in this case Megan Thee Stallion, will have to prove, and that's called actual malice. Actual malice has to be proved by the plaintiff. That would be Megan Thee Stallion in this case. And what that is like the person who said the supposedly false defamatory statement, did they know that it was false? Did they really think that what they were saying was true? That's the first thing. The person has to know or have a really strong reason to know. They put their fingers over their ears when somebody was trying to tell them the truth or something. Okay. So Megan had to prove that as well. But in Florida, we got the second wrench that gets thrown into this situation. Okay. And that is in Florida. To sue somebody in Florida for defamation, if they are what's called a so-called media defendant, you have to tell them you're going to sue them beforehand. You have to give them what's called notice. You have to make a demand. Megan Thee Stallion, if she was going to sue somebody who's a media defendant, she had a duty under the Florida law to tell Milagro or to tell, any media defendant. Let's say she was going to sue the news or whatever. She had to send them a letter, a cease and desist, a demand letter, some type of notice. Hey, putting you on notice, I'm going to sue you if you keep saying this false, fake thing. You're supposed to give the media defendant an opportunity to cure the defected statement, the false statement, whatever. Megan Thee Stallion, I guess, assuming Milagro wasn't media because she was a blogger, so-called, or a YouTuber. She did also have a radio show, which is a big deal in this case, ends up becoming a big deal, in my opinion. Megan Thee Stallion did not send that cease and desist, that demand letter to Milagro before suing her. She just straight up sued her. So when the jury just a couple days ago, I think it was like December 1st or 2nd, the jury decided and ruled on the first part of defamation. Yeah, they sided with Megan Thee Stallion. They said, this is defamation. We think so, yes, liable for defamation. However, there was that second part of the question that ended up getting left to the jury to decide. I don't know why the jury decided this and not the judge. There was some type of information coming out of the courts. I will say there was some conflicting information coming from the reporting out of the court. Some reporting made it seem as though Milagro and her lawyers requested for a jury to decide on this media issue. Some sources were saying that Milagro wanted the judge to decide on the media issue. Now, here's the thing. Is Milagro media or not? For the purposes of this Florida statute, it really ends up mattering. Because if she's a media defendant, she should have got the cease and desist first. She didn't get the cease and desist first. So the whole thing got to fall away. If she's not a media defendant, under the Florida law, there's just the Florida law. Everybody thinks this is some type of precedent that got applied to the whole world. It could eventually. But this is just because of this one Florida law. And other states do have a law like this. Well, y'all, it went to the jury. The jury said, yes, she's media. Yes, she is. As far as this statute is concerned, yes, she is. And so they had gone through this whole trial doing the defamation. That was the biggest claim from what I understand. That was the biggest claim. And then there were the other two. We're going to get into those. But they went through all of this rigmarole or whatever of proving the defamation or whatever. The jury went through the whole process. Who knows how long they spent back there just trying to, did she defame? Did she not? False statement of fact presented as if it's truth, presented to the third party, caused harm, plus actual malice. These are complicated endeavors. And then just to go down, is she media? Yes, no, yes, she is. So the whole defamation claim, the whole claim just fell away. Legally speaking, Milagro Grahams has not been found liable for defamation because she had her rights violated. She had a right under Florida law. If she was going to get dragged into court to get that cease and desist first. She did not receive that first. And so no. So there ended up being a little bit of back and forth because this is a big PR trial. It's the old guard versus the new guard, right? The whole media apparatus is kind of like on Megan Thee Stallion's side, and have been, in my opinion, this is how I perceive it, for a while. There were news articles coming out that were saying like Megan Thee Stallion wins defamation case, and like I just explained to y'all, that's really not true because she didn't do her part of things. So she didn't win. And in fact, and indeed, the judge reduced the amount of money that the jury had awarded to Megan by like $16,000, which is the exact amount that the jury had awarded Milagro for just the defamation stuff. So the judge said no, because she wasn't held liable for defamation. So you can understand how that's a little bit confusing. Like, was she not? I guess technically she was, but then, it was a technicality, but a technicality is the law. If you want to call the law the technicality, it's just a requirement of the law. So you had a lot of media reporting that was false. And this is like mainstream media. And what happens whenever mainstream media all report something, regardless if it's false or true or kind of true or whatever, then of course, social media then starts to perpetuate it. And, calamity ensues. So I just wanted to point out, Megan Thee Stallion did not win the defamation claim. The jury would have found defamation had Megan Thee Stallion done what she was supposed to do. And this is the jury that found that Milagro was a media defendant. So we're going to circle back to this what is media defendant question later, but let's just keep going and turn to the other two findings by the jury so that we have it all in one place. The next claim was intentional infliction of emotional distress. Milagro had an uphill battle on this one. The jury was given what's called an adverse jury instruction, where Milagro and Megan Thee Stallion had a duty to keep certain information or preserve it for trial. Apparently, Milagro, she had a group chat with her friends and she deleted those texts. She said it was to make room on her phone. It was a chat with her friends or whatever. Well, those text messages could not be recovered. And apparently it was 20,000 text messages. Now, according to Milagro, she said that was nothing. None of that was about Tory Lanez. None of that was about Megan Thee Stallion. None of that was about any of that. That's what Milagro said had nothing to do with this case. There was nothing that Megan could have found in there that would have been helpful for her case. It was unrelated to this. Well, they went to a little pre-trial kind of like hearings, little mini trials before trial on the evidence suppression and evidence spoliation. And Megan Thee Stallion's side was saying, obviously she's trying to hide something and she should be punished. Milagro was saying, I ain't trying to hide nothing. And what the underlying allegation was that, Megan Pete, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, she was shot. And Tory Lanez, a singer, a performing artist, recording artist, he was convicted for shooting her. So, and I've done videos on this. Y'all probably mostly have seen them, but the intentional infliction of emotional distress claim in this Milagro case was based upon the assumption by Megan Thee Stallion that she got this restraining order against Tory Lanez. So Tory Lanez couldn't talk about her, couldn't contact her and all that. Well, according to Megan Thee Stallion, Milagro was acting as a mouthpiece for Tory Lanez. So Milagro, according to the allegations in this lawsuit, she was working with Tory Lanez, working with his family, saying the things he basically couldn't legally say. And the intentional infliction of emotional distress is that. That is the claim. Well, there's this whole 2,000 deleted text messages thing. And Megan's argument was basically, had I had access to all the information I needed, I would have been able to find evidence of Tory Lanez and Milagro talking to each other. But I don't have that information because she deleted it, Milagro deleted it. And so I should be given, some compensation in some way in this trial for that. And the magistrate judge did do that. When the judge read the instructions to the jury, the judge gave an adverse jury instruction saying the jury should assume that those 20,000 text messages were deleted to cover something up. They would have been helpful to Megan Thee Stallion and they would have been harmful to Milagro. And so considering that, I think the jury, I could see why they found that Milagro was liable for intentional infliction of emotional distress. Now, the third thing that Milagro was sued for was that promoting a deep fake AI corn image or whatever. So it's this new law came out last year. You can't promote AI deep fake, that type of thing. Of course, I personally do think it is vile and disgusting to, just genuinely promote, specifically make and post and share, any type of corn anything. I mean, I'm like a prude, whatever auntie at this point. But if someone is truly promoting, maliciously, knowingly promoting this type of stuff, there do need to be consequences. But we always have to look at the context of who's posting it. So in my opinion here, it's kind of like murkier because the way that it came up was Milagro was informed of this deep fake on a live stream. And by the time she found out about it, it had like 4,000 likes or whatever on Twitter. So it was like on a public site. It was on Twitter. She was on a live stream when someone brought it to her attention. And she didn't know even at the time looking at it on first impression, was it real? Was it AI? Because in this Florida law, there's a difference. It has to be AI. And you have to knowingly promote it. Well, she even says it. I mean, I don't know if this is real, looks real. I don't know if it's real or AI, but if it's AI, Megan Thee Stallion needs to sue whoever made this and whoever posted it and whoever put the link to it on Twitter. So people in her live chat were like, what is it? We want to see. We want to know. We want to know. And she was like, I'm not sharing a link to that. She's in the people, we want to know. We want to know. So on her live stream, she finally says, okay, like I liked it on Twitter. Like if you really just must know. I'm paraphrasing here. So like, if you really just must see it, I mean, go to my likes. I mean, I liked it. You can go. And I could see why she did that in the sense of like, it's public. You kind of think like you have a right to kind of comment on public things about public figures. And especially like this law to me on its face, first I'll talk about like this law in itself. I think it presents a really interesting constitutional question, specifically First Amendment. And I think somebody with money and resources, like I think, like how hard Diddy and his lawyers fought his case, like something like that. And this is civil, this isn't criminal, but I think somebody with the team, the legal team and the energy to do it, I think they can take this law itself all the way up to the Supreme Court and really argue it in a meaningful, good faith way on constitutional grounds. Also, I don't think Milagro's lawyers did argue this even at all. Like you kind of have to put the argument down at the first trial level before you can argue it at the higher level. So I'm not even saying Milagro's lawyers should be doing this, but the unfortunate reality, and truly in my opinion, I believe that this reality we live in has been perpetuated into this monstrosity by exactly people like Megan Thee Stallion. No offense, this is just my opinion, but it's the like WAPification of everything. Like, why does everything have to be so cleavage and so booty hanging out and twerk, hottie? Like, okay, yes, there's a place for that, I guess, like in your bedroom, but like, it's just the over-sexification of everything. And these S tapes, unfortunately, have entered the public zeitgeist. It's something people talk about. What, do y'all remember Perez Hilton back in 2007, 2009? He would be posting uncensored pictures of, girls, young Hollywood starlets, tops falling, them getting out of the car. He'd be up skirt. Nobody ever held him responsible for that. I mean, maybe, look, correct me if I'm wrong. For what Perez Hilton did to Britney Spears, was he ever held accountable? For posting her like actual naked body in some of the most vulnerable times of her life? What about Harvey Levin? What about Harvey Levin? Did he ever get sued? TMZ ever get sued for promoting a Paris Hilton or a Kim K S tape? Or what about young little Vanessa Hudgens when her quote nude leaked? What about all the traditional media outlets who reported on Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton's S tapes? Isn't that promotion? Haven't they been doing this? But it's Milagro Grams Cooper who said it on her Discord, who liked a public Twitter post, who's the first one to face a consequence for this. I mean, look, listen, I believe in juries. And I know for a fact they know way more than me. They saw all the evidence. They were in court all day. And I in no way mean to diminish their, work or their ruling. They know more than me. This is a brand new law. This is how it came out. So she was found liable. I also think the knee-jerk reaction kind of gets people like, this is sharing an AI deepfake corn. And it's like, I don't want anybody to promote anything like that if somebody, God forbid, ever made it about me either. I'd be wanting to sue too. But I might want to figure out, for example, like who made it. I might want to send a cease and desist to the website. And maybe Megan did do that. Maybe she did. From what I saw, that didn't come up at court. Maybe it did. I would love to get the transcript. Somebody wants to send them to me. So those are the three things. She was found to be liable on all of them, except that defamation, she kind of wasn't. Because it kind of just disappeared. It got erased. There's no liability there. There's no money owed from there. So then there's kind of like some side drama. We'll enter Act 2 of the video now. There's some side drama going on with the court reporters of the case. And this is something that I want to keep an eye on because it sort of all started when I went to those Britney rallies, and that started 5 years ago, almost It's definitely 5.5, almost 6 years ago. And I was going to those court hearings. And then I went to the Diddy one. And I mean, y'all, Jesus, oh my God. Y'all know how it went for me over there. It was like a bunch of thespians running around. It was like a bunch of actors. All the world's a stage. And it was clowns. Some people seemed genuine. Some people were very nice to me, seemed genuine, and immediately went to their YouTube channel to start talking shit about me. It was bizarre. It was a given crisis actor, if, I do say so myself. And then it appears, and I did not go to this court case, but it appears like this is happening again. And interestingly, some of the same actors that were at the Diddy trial. Okay, so there's been a lot of back and forth just between, the court reporters. And for me, like I said at the beginning, I watch them all because I want to hear every perspective. Just like it was when I was covering the Diddy case, I would read every perspective. That's how I want to be for this one. But there's also some other kind of side drama brewing between traditional mainstream old guard media and what's now just coming to be defined as new media. And it's just bizarre to me because to me, I feel like it's a side quest that I want no part of. I don't want to be considered a journalist by any means. Chloe Malos, the Kardashian family shill, is a journalist.
But like the last time we were together, we did the podcast, we went out for a cocktail after, and you were, if I can't say this, we'll delete it out, but I'm just going to say it.
No, you can say it.
You were on the phone with Diddy's lawyers.
This is true.
It was sarcastic.
But then I was also on the phone with Scooter Braun, too.
I forgot.
Wasn't just lawyers.
I didn't go to journalism school. I like to read law, cases and explain what, to the best of my knowledge, what's going on in these legal unfoldings. I would really like to be left out of drama, but it's odd to me because it's very meta. Like the mainstream media is reporting on this case in a way that it's like the new media and the old media are getting in a fight. It's like, not really. Like y'all want to be us. I am everything that the old media wishes that it could be. That's why they're sending plants into YouTube to act and pretend like they're independent. For that matter, to that point, I give you $1. No, I won't. It's a figure of speech. If you can show me a non-biased, truly independent media source. I'm just giving you a second to look. What about NBC? NBC? No, that's where Chloe Malos works. Okay. What about Fox News? You think they're non-biased over there? News Nation, Young Turks. I mean, that's a little bit more blogger, new media probably, but MSNBC, obviously CNN, they all have their own bias as well. And each one of the reporters that comes on has a bias.
I want to ask you about the valuation, right? The sticker price. Is it worth it? What has she built here?
100% it's worth it. I mean, first of all, like you said, she is the youngest self-made billionaire.
There's a reporter, Megan Cuniff, and, shout out to her. She does go to these trials, and I rely on her coverage. For a long time, I thought Megan Cuniff was non-biased, like a traditional independent reporter. But I discovered, incidentally, during her trial coverage of this Megan P. versus Milagro case, that she's not non-biased, aka she is biased. I discovered this whenever I simply made a comment, an observation, and provided my opinion on the way Megan Pete was walking out of the courthouse after she had gotten found to be in violation of the gag order that she asked for. I said, oh, where's the bounce in her step? She's had a bounce in her step, now she looks rode hard and put up wet or something. And I commented that on Megan's, supposedly neutral coverage, and this reporter, she fired back something sassy. And it was like, oh, wait, why are you invested in whether I think Megan Thee Stallion, the plaintiff of this high-profile lawsuit, looks tired or not? Like, it was odd to me, and it showed a bias to me. But then you have these traditional news sources like Vanity Fair putting Megan Cuniff out to the public and posturing her to the public as if she is the mainstream, as if she is the real journalist, the trained, traditional journalist. But y'all, I watched the coverage of the trial. This Vanity Fair article is biased. They compare this YouTuber, Armand Wiggins, to Megan Cuniff in this article. They kind of put them against each other. And the truth is, Megan Cuniff is as much a blogger, if not more of a blogger, than Armand, because she has a blog. From what I understand, she's independent media. She don't work for anybody from what I understand. Maybe she does. Y'all could correct me in the comments. Maybe she could. She was more biased in her coverage than Armand. And in this Vanity Fair article, she says something bitchy about the courtroom bloggers going home and crying that nobody calls them a real journalist, and they go home and cry. It's just so obvious they don't know what they're doing. No one is talking about Megan Cuniff like that from the new media, from what I know. Maybe they are. But Armand has always said, it takes all of us. New media this, new media that. But I want to zoom out even more. Megan Cuniff is a blogger. She don't work for the New York Times. Hell, I don't even think she works for TMZ. So why are they putting two bloggers against each other and making this all about, it's about new media versus old media? No, hell no, it's not. This is about Americans being able to express our opinions online. There's people out here arfing like seals. Arfing like a family of seals out here. that Milagro got found in any way liable for a moment's time before they checked that she was a media defendant for defamation. Y'all are arfing for your own self, getting sued and losing. This is taking away our freedom of speech. This is what's called chilling speech. And now every YouTuber is media too? That's what they're trying to spin it as, but that's not what's going on. Milagro, first and foremost, had a radio broadcast contract with Stationhead where she had a 5-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week show that went on for years. That is way above and beyond an average YouTuber. It's like meta bias. Bias by no, not you, like that Rick and Morty episode. You're not biased. No, you're the blogger. No, you're the traditional. Like all of them are actors. Like at this point, the only people that I feel like I can really trust online are the ones who I can tell they have a little mic. Their mic messes up. Their button messes up sometimes. Their stuff don't go up on time. The mainstream sources like Vanity Fair are dragging them. I'm like, well, that's the only thing that can make me think that what your opinions are and what your perspective is in any way trustworthy. Because like I gotta know you're authentic, you're independent. These plants pop up out of nowhere and they're going on New Now Net, News Nation, at DJ Academics. They pop up out of nowhere. Please. It's so obvious to me. It's like, it's painful how obvious it is to me. And I know people are just busy and broken, doing everything. Everybody's got kids. Everybody's got stuff going on, responsibilities. They're poisoning the food, whatever. Okay. It's so obvious to me. Like the best thing, and I think Armand Wiggins said it best, the best thing to do is have more voices, more freedom of speech. Let everybody say everything. Then we can use our discernment to determine what actually went on in court. And you know what would be easier than all that? They just put cameras in there and live streamed it. Then we wouldn't have to believe or not believe or trust or not trust. We could just watch it. Why are these transcripts so much money? Why does it take so much to get? Sometimes it kind of starts to feel intentional. Maybe it's not. But even in this Vanity Fair article, it's traditional media, Vanity Fair, gatekeeping and defining who gets to be considered media and who doesn't. Megan Cuniff in the article is even taking bitchy little jabs at bloggers and independent journalists in the article. But she was still somehow postured as the non-biased one. Anyway, that's what happened in that trial from what I understand. Like I said, there was a lot of coverage. Armand Wiggins loved his coverage. He kind of started out at the beginning against Milagro and kind of for Megan a little bit. He had some previous personal beef with Milagro, but by the end of the trial, he was like, actually, I think this is free speech. I think if she can't say that, we're all in trouble. This is a canary in the coal mine situation. There was another very, in my opinion, neutral, down the middle reporter from the trial. She's actually an attorney, Pam Esquire. And I would encourage you also to go and check out Megan Cuniff's coverage and see all these different videos and see all the different blogs. There's only one blog, it was Megan's, from the case, and make up your own mind to the best of your ability with what we're presented with. That's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation, neither are opinions. I don't know these people, and it's until proven guilty. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.